Well, I just want to talk about like what's important because like in the fantasy playoffs at this time of year, um, it's really easy to get like carried away with your starting sets and like playing the matchups and stuff like that. But I would suggest just doing what got you there. And don't get too cute. If you played three running backs, two in your RB1, RB2 and then in your flex all year long, do that again in the playoffs. Don't all of a sudden put a wide receiver in your in your flex. Do it that way. First and foremost, like I think it's just like something that that evergreen thing you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but so with that said, like how do we apply that to the matchups that we do have? I mean, what we do need to take into account at this time of year is the weather. I don't know if you saw they posted that like I think there's gonna be like 5 games played in negative degree weather.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
It's crazy. Um, so I mean, it's just gonna be. I think there's gonna be a lot of running the ball. There's gonna be a lot of quick games. It's also Christmas weekend. If it's not, outside of the teams that are playing for playoff spots, which there's a few, but then there's the ones who aren't. They're going to be looking to just run the ball and get out of
Mm-hmm.
there. I think.
I guess like as far as like evergreen stuff, like at what point does um players sitting because their teams like end of season guys like aren't getting full snap counts and like snap shares and whatnot. Like when does that start to become? Because like it's not this week probably, but like people on bad teams per se that are just like you know what I mean? Because like every year there's a couple guys in DFS that are like obvious phase because they're like yo they're only gonna play like the first half.
Right. I don't think that happens. That's not gonna happen this week.
Yeah.
Maybe next week and the 18th, and then week 18. I think week 18 is a whole new animal that coaching has to overcome. I think we could see a lot of really interesting things in week 18. So
And it's crazy because there's an extra week. It's like I feel like teams will just approach it like sitting there guys the very last week, but maybe there's some like old heads that are like 16 is the perfect number. You need to sit these last 2 games. I don't know.
well, that or they'll look to get rookies more snaps,
Mm-hmm.
that sort of thing. Guys who didn't get any snaps all year, maybe they'll get something in week 18 just to see if they're worth keeping on the roster or not.
That feels like some um
Like
like
Jalen
Urban Meyer
Tolbert,
would
for
do.
example,
Some like stupid
someone who's
shit.
been inactive most of the year, and then when he did play, he's only gotten a couple targets. It's like they might as well feature him in week 18 when they know their playoff spot and they don't want to get any of their guys hurt. Feature this guy that you drafted highly, see if he's worth keeping.
Who are you talking about?
Jalen Tolbert.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the dude you picked up in Dynasty.
Oh,
Shahid.
Shahid.
He like falls into the bucket too.
Well, I mean, he's the opposite, Like, so he's in this bucket where it's like, as an undrafted rookie, made a splash uh, on several occasions throughout the season. So you have to think that the team is going to retain him over the offseason and see what he can do in year two. See if he can take another step forward, maybe take on a bigger role. I think that's undrafted rookie who comes out of nowhere. There's a reason to grab him at the end of the year and see what happens with his role.
Yeah, I kind of fumbled that. I was like just like looking at someone to like pick up, and I was like, oh, like Richie James had 18 last week, and I was like, I'm a Daniel Dimes believer. But then like when I thought about it, I was like, yo, Shahid's a way better pickup because like he has some upside. He's a younger guy, unproven. He could go somewhere. especially for $0. That was a good pickup. I felt like.
Yeah, I mean he's broken several plays over 60 yards already, so that's something that you like to see in your first year in the NFL. I mean, and it shows that you can play at that level.
Most definitely, most definitely. Um,
What's your, tell me what you're most excited to see this week in terms of matchups?
what am I
Is
most
there one in
excited to see?
particular or two?
Um, who is Sauce Gardner guarding?
Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, because whoever he's guarding is the matchup I'm most excited for. And just because he's locked up
Well,
everybody.
he should be covering Zay Jones. It would be my guess.
It's a damn shame he couldn't cover Zay Jones last week, man.
God damn shame.
Dude, give, give your cause I know it would probably be kind of therapeutic to you to give your piece on that. Like, what's the Lil Zay Jones story from last week?
So I played the same person in week 14, the week before the playoffs, and they beat me so that I didn't get the bye. I ended up getting third place by 20 points. The top four or maybe five teams in my league were all 9-5. And the top three were myself and two other guys, and we were all separated by 60 points total. In a league where we normally score someone is scoring 170 or more
Oh my
in a
goodness.
week. It happens every week. So there's pretty high scoring. Um, so he beat me so I ended up facing him again in the first round of the playoffs.
So he has to beat you twice.
And he beats me again with Zay Jones, and he got the highest score on the week out of everyone in the league with 174 points. I scored 170, but the worst part is I didn't. What I mentioned on the top of the show was playing, sticking to your guns. I didn't do that. I played Christian Watson in the flex for the first time all year when I had been playing either Kenneth Walker or Ramondre Stevenson or a
No.
running back, whoever wasn't on bye. And I didn't play Ramondre and I didn't play Kenneth Walker because they both were coming off of ankle injuries, and it was like, and Kenneth Walker is playing San Francisco, the toughest matchup there is.
And to be
And
fair, Kenneth Walker didn't have that
and
great of a game.
literally, I thought Ramondre broke his ankle
Dude,
last
it looked
week.
bad.
It looked bad, and then he came out and put up 174 yards on the ground, and I was like, what the hell? I blew my mind. I couldn't
Nobody
believe
could have
it.
predicted that.
So then I have to rely. I'm relying on Christian Watson, and then the worst part of all was I still had AJ Dillon on my bench, and he's been playing well, and it was a cold game and at home, and I should have just played the running back who was on the overdog at home, and I still played the wide receiver.
That's
So
rough.
I lost by 4 points
That's
with the
rough
second
stuff.
highest score on the week, and I'm out of out of the playoffs. And that's what fantasy is, I had a great season. I prepare all year round, and I went into the draft with a good plan that I felt I executed. I felt really good about my team. I felt really good about my pickups all year. I relied on the three running back approach all year to have a base of points. And then if my quarterback pops, then how hard is that to beat? It's going to be really hard to beat if you have a really good base. And there are so many things that came to light in this week. There was another thing that made me think about how there's these fantasy analysts out there who will say I literally heard someone be asked why do you always draft running backs in the first round, and they say that's just how I build my teams. And it's like that doesn't tell anybody anything. What you should be saying if you're always going running back in the first round is that you want to have that base of point. You want to have that strong baseline to build around, instead of having a volatile player to build around like a wide receiver.
It's give some context, and
Right,
And
right.
that's why, like we were saying, it's the least sexy pick that you can possibly make. But and he's still kind of busted. But Najee
Mhm.
Harris at pick like 12 or 14, it's like that's not gonna be awful because like Najee Harris is gonna end up RB. I mean, at worst, and this is his like worst case scenario, like RB like 18,
Yep.
17, and
The
it's
guy who
like
beat
that's
me
not
had
great. But you're
Najee.
playing him every week, you know.
The guy who beat me took Najee first, and he had the worst draft ever. Oh my God! This is the dude who took Najee in the first round, Patrick Mahomes at right there at the turn of the beginning of the
Oh
second.
my
He
god.
took Juju right after that in the third.
And they all pop this week.
And but then you know what he did? He
What?
ended up with Josh Jacobs too, and it
Who
carried him.
who would have been a top five redraft pick?
And then he played Zay Jones at the end of the year. And it just like and that culmination there, it carried him over the top.
That will be the perfect draft, like 10 times out of 10. Because I mean, those guys that you just described are 150 points.
It's like it's what do they call it in DFS? It's like when a donkey puts in like some kind of lineup that some shit lineup that ends up hitting.
Yeah,
It was like that scenario.
it was like a I saw one of those tweets. It's always like the Sharks are getting like really, really, really mad that
Oh
like
yeah.
the middle one, and it's like and that's like a whole like different can of worms. But it was like a four chief lineup with no run back, and then playing Algier and Zay Jones with no run back, and I scored like 200 points, and it like took down the millie. It was like McKinnon, Juju, Kelsey, Mahomes, and those guys. It was crazy.
It's what it is, man.
Yeah.
I mean, there you go. That's fantasy. That's the beauty in it too. Like everybody can win.
Mhm. Well, that being said, do you want to get into these games here?
I do. So I asked you what you're most excited to see in terms of matchups. You said Sauce Gardner. So let's talk about the Jags and Jets. Um,
Beautiful.
I'm excited to see Trevor Lawrence face this defense. They're both like the hottest thing going right now in terms of quarterback and defense. So I mean, it's only fitting for them to meet here in this um, playoff run that they're both on. I mean, the Jags can win out and they get to play the Titans at the beginning of the season and really create their own destiny here. Um, which you love to see. And I think that they're going to make a strong run at the playoffs, if they get in, who knows what kind of noise they can make. And the same thing for the Jets. I mean, they both one's playing great offense, one's playing great defense. I don't know. I think this is going to be a fantastic game. I'm excited to watch tomorrow night.
So when this got put on the schedule, nobody's circling it. Yet
Oh, never.
somehow we're here talking about a Thursday night game in Week 16, and we're like the hottest offense in football. Trevor Lawrence and Zay Jones and Christian Kirk going against the God Sauce. I mean, I'm really excited for this. But
It's
here's what I'm most excited for because this player has given me more inspiration this year than any player in fantasy, and it's Garrett Wilson, baby. Garrett Wilson. This guy, alright, this is strictly off the dome. I got no stats right here. 27 points in back to back weeks prior to this week, where he has a very, very, very quiet 6 for like 86. Um, Even with the change of Zach Wilson, he's impervious to quarterback play at this point. He's getting all kinds of targets. He's so talented. This is a perennial top 15 receiver year in, year out. I mean, he's doing this as a rookie. He's a top 15 receiver ranked, perhaps top 10. It's nothing but upside. And it kind of sucks that Mike White already got ruled out because Garrett Wilson would have had an even higher upside. But you need to still figure out a way to get Garrett Wilson in your lineups here. Because
absolutely.
if he's on your bench, he's gonna pop. And Garrett Wilson doesn't pop for 20 points; he pops for 30 points because he's that talented. So, um, saying all that, he could bust because this is Zach Wilson. But you need to get him in there because I mean he has a highest chance of anyone to like pop out there for a big week. I'd say.
Absolutely. He has the highest ceiling of anyone in the game. I think running back and wide receiver, tight end. Um, he has been awesome. He's a special talent. He's young. He's super athletic. Sky is the limit for him right now, and I would say that after this weekend, for all those leagues that are still trading out there, he'll be the number one traded player after this weekend.
Oh,
Or over this weekend.
mm-hmm. Okay, I got two follow up questions. So
Okay.
first, Olave or Garrett Wilson in Dynasty?
I say Garrett Wilson.
I agree, and that I'm the Olave owner. I I absolutely love Olave, but I just think Garrett Wilson's 10% better in everything. He just seems like a more well-rounded receiver to me. Um, and it's not like Olave was a scrub at OSU, like because they were like neck and neck. But I mean, Garrett Wilson gets a little more draft capital. Um, he just seems to be a half step ahead of Olave in terms of everything to me. Uh,
For the sake of the argument on Olave's side, I will say that he has the opportunity to most likely be the only guy in the offense
oh yeah.
going forward, and especially like next year is what I mean. And they'll probably be grooming a young prospect who could just gravitate to him and make him like an elite target percentage kind of receiver, where Garrett Wilson is already surrounded by a good amount of talent and a team that has a strong defense right now, and is also shown that they want to be a run first defense type of team. So that would be the only downside on Garrett Wilson's argument there, but they both are great dynasty owns. One of the better picks that you could have had in this year's draft.
And I mean, at the end of the day, Garrett Wilson still plays for the Jets, so it's like that could always go south. I mean, this is the franchise with the butt fumble. Um,
It's true, but I mean, I think they really did well with Salah, or at least he's proving to be a very a good leader.
I
I
agree.
think
I agree.
he's like a Mike Tomlin type, in my opinion, in terms of coaching his in style.
I think I don't know if this is a hot take, but I think Mike Tomlin's a, I don't know the exact number, but easily a top five NFL coach. I mean, he's like seeing what's happened to AB and Lev Bell and like all these guys like afterwards, and he just managed them so well and won. I'm very impressed with him over the years.
True.
But all right. So second follow up question, right? So the most intriguing player outside of Garrett Wilson in this game is probably ETN. Um, would you play? I mean, hypothetically, but this is a scenario that I'm in. But I feel like it's a good. Would you play ETN on Thursday or Nick Chubb and wait on him, and then maybe have to plug in a Brian Robinson or a Rashad White?
If those are my backup options, Robinson. Who's Robinson playing? Washington is playing.
San Fran,
Oh,
tough matchup,
very tough.
and I kind of want to just plug an ETN because I feel like he's due for a 20 piece, but he could just bust again, and then I would be stuck.
I get a feeling this is going to be.
Do you feel like this game is high scoring or not?
I don't think it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be high scoring or not. I just don't know if they're going to want to. The strength of the defense is the secondary. Does that mean that they're not going to go pass first? I don't know. That's the question I have. Is like,
Yeah.
how are they going to approach the secondary being the strong part of the defense when Trevor Lawrence is the strength of your offense? Or does that mean that you're going to? I don't know.
See, and so like Lawrence has the profile, or ETN has the profile where like one theory like out of that is they could try to work ETN in the short game, in the short passing game, but he hasn't been getting the targets that Travis Etienne should be getting, which is disappointing, because he's an Alvin Kamara talent in terms of pass catching, like at least like coming out. But he hasn't really gotten that receiving work, which is weird.
That was my I didn't like about him this year, and I was just looking that up. I was counting his catches, receptions. He only had, I think he has less than 30
Oh,
on the
really?
season. Yeah,
That's not good.
he might be right around 30. Either way, that's yeah, it's exactly not what you want to see when well, Camaro was hitting 80 in those few seasons where he was getting it done at an elite level. So I would have liked to see Tien break 50.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's possible that he gets 10 over the next couple of weeks each, but what's the chances? So um, yeah, I mean he's going to get the work. It should be a very competitive game. And again, both teams they have playoff implications. I mean, they're not just going to lie down. And who else is going to take work from him? Anybody?
Nobody.
So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't bank on Chubb playing at all.
Yeah. I think they were saying that they're optimistic that he's gonna get out there, but he didn't practice and he was limited today, and it's a hamstring. I just don't see.
I don't know.
Like I don't know.
This is
If it's a
exactly what happened
50-50,
to me
that's
last week
optimistic.
and Ramondre Stevenson. I waited and I ended up not playing him because of the injury. Maybe you should wait, and if he plays, play him.
Yeah. I mean, that offense just hasn't been good with Watson either, but that's a whole other can of worms.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to move on to the Browns and talk about Trevor Watson?
Okay.
Here, one second. Let me. Browns. What is your take? So it's Saints Browns. You're saying it's going to be a windy game.
Yeah.
Um, Taysom Hill. I would love to see some more Taysom Hill. I love that. Um, I like the call on Dearness Johnson as maybe a flex play if Trevor's out, because we always say hunt, 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 but it seems like the idea of hunt when Trevor's out is better than what it actually is. Um, that's just my 2 cents, I guess. If it's gonna be windy, um, God, I mean, you could play DPJ in desperation, but there just really isn't much on the Brown side nowadays.
Yeah. I really just think because of the conditions, everybody's gonna be getting creative in the run game,
Mm-hmm.
and that's Taysom Hill to a T, of course, but also that means mixing in your third guy, and maybe using Hunt in more of Chubb's role and using Dearness in Hunt's role, and maybe they run more Dearness. Like, didn't they do very little with Chubb last week? Like you said,
Yeah,
he only had a few
I
carries,
mean,
right?
he had almost 100 rushing yards, but nothing else. I mean, he didn't score. He didn't have any receiving work. I don't think Hunt did anything though.
Oh, okay. I thought he only had a few carries, so that's okay. That's different. Um, yeah, I don't know. I just got a feeling that they're going to be getting creative. Both teams are going to be getting creative in the run game, and using more guys. So anybody who is going to be getting carries or has gotten carries in the past, I expect to get some in this game.
Mm-hmm. Well, on the Saints side, you're probably still gonna throw Olave out there even in a windy game.
I mean,
Olave also had a hit.
if you have Olave, I mean, I don't have him. I haven't been playing him all year. You've been playing him all year,
Yeah,
and you've been happy with what you've been getting.
very much so. He just doesn't bust. Like one of his worst games of the year was last week, and it was like 8 points. Like he just has a very high floor, but he hasn't reached his ceiling in a while, and he also has a hamstring. So I'm trying to get Olave out of my lineup, but I just feel so much more comfortable with him getting like me 8 to 12 points, and then potentially scoring and getting more than like a lot of options. Because he still gets a pretty ridiculous target share when he's out there and he gets open and he's a stud. Um, Even if it is like Andy Dalton throwing, but if it's gonna be windy and he's hurt, I'm gonna have to watch that because I don't like hamstrings at all.
Yeah, I would try. I would definitely avoid playing any wide receiver in this game, in my opinion, if you can. Um, Go for someone in a higher total, even if they're a second or third option on the team.
Um, what
You
are
want
you
to go to
thinking
the
here?
next game?
Yeah,
Yeah, there's not much to talk about in that one, and not much in this one either. Texans and Titans.
I mean it's Derrick Henry show.
Yeah, I mean another Derrick Henry crushing should be underway. Cold game, which he loves, against the Texans, which he always, 180, 200 yards, two touchdowns, touchdown.
This
Um,
is
he always
this is
scores and does very well against them. So
this is like so predictably a 30 carry performance from Derrick
yeah,
Henry.
and it's possible that they have Malik Willis under center because I think Ryan Tannehill's still not practicing this week.
Ooh, that would be
So
fun.
if you got Malik, then that's even more run game and even better for Derek.
Would you consider um, Malik Willis in a deep spot start?
Only in a super flex.
Yeah, like if you lost Jalen Hurts and you were like, shit, I need someone.
Yeah, in a super flex, I would do it as my second quarterback because you had to promote your second guy to your first guy. Then yeah, but if it's like a one QB league, you're playing with fire.
Mm-hmm.
It's certainly possible for him to like fall in the end zone a few times,
Mm-hmm.
just because he's really good with the ball in his hands, and he's like also the type of guy who will just like take a hit, like like he's not going to slide. He's yeah, he's going to be diving for the end zone, that sort of thing, if he has a chance to. So it's very possible for him to score, but it's not something I would want to bet on.
No.
It's the kind of upside you want in that super flex league.
Mm-hmm. Um, I would say if you have anything else, I just got one thing on the Texans. I believe Brandon Cooks is going to be back, and that means he's going to get 6 or 7 targets. Who knows how good they're going to be? But you could definitely do far worse. We're going to talk about the Bills at some point. I'm considering playing Brandon Cooks over Gabe Davis in a really, 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 really windy game. It's ugly, but it's in the back of my mind. So that's a bridge to cross. But you could do far worse than Brandon Cooks. He's definitely better than waiver wire options because he's Brandon Cooks.
I mean, that's the one thing that you can say for the Texans in this matchup is they're going against one of the worst secondaries, pass defenses in the league, pass funnel offense defense, if anything. So like Davis Mills is a sneaky play this week, I think, and I'm playing him because Jalen Hurts is hurt in our 16-team league against you.
Oh, yo, crazy ass game. Daniel Jones
Davis Mills versus Daniel Jones.
That's really crazy.
That's fucking awesome,
dude. if if we get a combined like 25, 30 points, we're happy there, most definitely. But
yeah, I've been doing well in that league. Like I've been very happy with my team.
Me too, dude. I'm scared of Jefferson. He's gonna put up like
He's-
37 again.
He's so good. He's unstoppable.
It would
Entirely unstoppable.
would he be your number one dynasty pick if you had to redraft it today, non superflex?
If it was not super flex, yes.
Is it particularly
He's a great
close?
player to build around.
Is it close with like Brees, Jamar, Waddle, JT, anybody?
Who can be close?
I feel like Jamar's close.
Jamar's
Jamar's
the
close.
closest.
I feel like they're
He
neck and
did
neck.
have kind of the down year and the injury. I mean, the really, what really separates him is he's shown great durability so far as well.
Hmm.
So that's another big factor that pushes him even further away. So no, there really isn't anybody close.
Bro,
And running backs don't are going to have near the shelf life as him. I mean, he can be in your lineup for 8 years.
yeah, bro. Some of these catches he's making and then like taking an absolute fucking lick afterwards
Yep.
mesmerizes me. And then he just held onto the ball and gets up like nothing happened. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome to see, man. So with that said, the Giants and the Vikings in the dome. I mean, this is going to be a high flyer. You gotta get pieces of the Giants, I think, in this one because the
Oh, most
Vikings
definitely.
defense is horrible. And yeah, I mean, look at what the Colts did last week. They got off to a hot start and they're just moving the ball. And there's no reason to just think that the Giants can't do what they did. Again, in another game in a dome when all the other ones are going to be in bad weather. This is the one to attack, in my opinion.
I mean, yeah, you're like, you're definitely trying to get Daniel Jones in your lineup. Fringe top 10 quarterback this week. Saquon, it's going to be vintage Saquon once again.
Ooh, can't wait to watch Saquon.
It's going to be awesome. There, there isn't a whole lot in terms of Giants pass catchers that you want because uh, I mean, Danny Dimes likes to spread it around, and he's gonna take something off the table with his legs as well. So it's just those guys, in my opinion, for the Giants. But on the Vikings side, Jay Jets, Dalvin Cook, Adam Thielen, KJ Osborne, a recent I don't know what to say. He's just flying up every rank. He had like a buck 30 last week and a touchdown. Just burned every corner that was on him. It's gonna be a great game. I'm very excited.
Can't wait for that one. Yep. Anybody in that game, I would play them over someone who's questionable or in like maybe a tougher spot in one of these outdoor weathery games. Just take the safe points.
Most definitely, most definitely. Um, you got any thoughts on that game, or you want to move on to Bengals Patriots?
Bengals Pats, so that'll be good. Yeah, let's talk about that one. I mean, it'll be good because it'll be like I have no idea what's going to happen. It'll be an entirely unpredictable show to watch.
Mm-hmm. I,
What do you think?
I just think so. I think I'm going to start Jacoby Myers over Chris Olave in spots that I can. Um, I mean, Myers ruined his day on probably the dumbest play in football history last week. He got negative 20 yards for that, plus the fumble. So that was like minus 4 points. Um, he totally fucked you over there. Um, so that didn't work. Uh, but he's one of the safest bets for 6 targets in the NFL. And it's not pretty, but he's gonna get probably 4 catches for 60 yards. Um, and he's concussed, but he's been concussed for 3 weeks. He's kind of been banged up everywhere, but he gets a pretty decent matchup. In terms of they're gonna have to be catching up with Joey B. And I feel like you could just do far worse, and he's one of the only pads that I would want outside of a healthy Armandre.
Yeah, I mean, Ramondre's shown that he's matchup proof, honestly.
He's a stud.
He, so we were talking about buckets. He's literally got one of the best profiles in terms of fantasy that you can have. He's the pass down catching back. He's an explosive pass down catching back because his depth of target is positive yards. It's not negative. So he's always catching the ball going forward, or he's catching it ahead of the line of scrimmage,
Downfield.
gaining you yards, gaining you points. And he's the 2 minute offense. He's in the back for the 2 minute offense. So that's always a bucket of points, whether it's garbage time or in a competitive game. That's where dump offs happen the most, and those are the players that you want to have. And he also has the goal line win. I mean, he's really got the trifecta in terms of what you want in your fantasy running back. I mean, you can even throw on top of that, he's on a team who's run first and defense first in Patriots
Yeah.
in terms of just overall scheme and mindset. So the the one thing that has allowed him to do that though is Damian Harris's injury. Um, it, in the past, the Patriots have always like kind of spread that around, right? They never really had the one guy who was doing it all.
Never draft a patch running back.
So, so I mean, yeah, maybe this is his year, and this is the only year it's going to be like that. Maybe next year it could be a different story.
Well, I, I don't want to like. I, I haven't been wanting to like make a video on this, but I think one of the most potentially inflated ADPs in Dynasty is Ramondre Stevenson, because I feel like, and he's been absolutely incredible this year. He's gonna be on probably the most championship rosters, like outside of maybe a couple players like Gary Wilson and like maybe couple players. Like he's just been a stud. Um, but this may just be a 1 year thing. It really might be, because if Damian Harris comes back, he's proven that he's the starter when he's healthy, over Ramondre, and maybe Ramondre just beats him out, and I look like a fool. But this really could just be a 1 year thing, and he's like up to like RB10 and like keep trade cut for Dynasty, which is crazy because he's had a one, or like it's not even a full season yet of like
He's a
dominance.
trade.
Yeah,
He's a trade. You
but
saw,
man,
you saw.
so yeah, that's just my piece there. And then I always gotta put in my word for Nick Folk, who's been my dynasty kicker for 3 years now. Um, he has like splash games, because like at the Pats, they can't really punch it in with Mac Jones. I don't know. It just feels like a Bill Belichick thing. Like he's like very like, if it's 4th and 1, 4th and 2, he's like, take my points, and then Nick Folk ends up with like 14, 15 points. I'm like, bet. So I was advocate for him. Um, yeah.
You know what? Something odd about kickers that I changed this year in a couple of leagues was, if you notice, the incremental yards per field goal instead of like your standard 3 points for anything that's up to 30 yards.
It's like 3.7.
Right. So it's 3.7 for 37 yards, right? So what's oddly satisfying about that at the end of the week, when you look at your lineup and you see the score box, you see like Nick Folk, 154 yards, 5 field goals, or 4 field goals, or instead of 4 for 4, 16 points. You see 15.4, 154 yards. It's just like oddly more satisfying to look at.
No, that's cool. Yeah. Like,
I suggest all leagues do that change. Go to incremental yards on your field goals. If you're going to have kickers at all, at least make it cool, make it interesting, make it really worth what they're doing. Not 3 points for a 19-yard. You get 1.9.
it's proper etiquette.
Anyway,
Anyway,
let's go to the next. Let's go to another game. Let's go to the Bills and the Bears.
Bills Bears, great.
I mean, man, I was so mad that I lost. I had Gabe Davis on that team that I lost in the playoffs, and I mean, I played him last week, and it was out of principle. It was like, I've been playing him all year. I will play him every week that he's healthy. I will always play Gabe Davis. If you sit Gabe Davis, you don't deserve to own him. That's how I feel about it.
He's so, dude, because
He's so like confounding to own, but it's like, that if you sit him, the risk that you run, right?
I might just have to play him and say, Josh Allen, got to figure it out. I don't know.
It just what you say is, I'm not playing. You don't say I'm playing Gabe Davis. Say I'm playing Josh Allen's wide receiver. I'm playing Josh Allen's wide receiver.
That's how. And if anybody, he is the next guy in that offense. If anybody, if anybody.
Right. I mean, and he's liable to have three catches and all three be touchdowns too.
The thing is, he so often has three catches for 40 yards and no
Yeah.
touchdowns. But it's like once in a blue moon, he just wins your week, and it's
But
all worth it.
the primetime game against the Pats, I believe it was, a couple weeks back, and in the really snowy weather, and he found Gabe Davis in the end zone on like a broken play, and that was like the quintessential Gabe Davis play. Like he's always moving in the end zone, especially. Um, he's always had a higher touchdown potential than most players for a number of reasons, not just one, not just Josh Allen.
Mm-hmm.
It's also because of other factors that he brings to the table.
He's a bigger
Strength,
body.
athleticism, willingness, engine, that all of it combined makes Gabe Davis, man. He is just one of the best fantasy owners because if he blows up, your week is done. You won it.
Lunch
Because
potato guy.
he's never the guy that you're relying on. He's not your anchor. He's not your cornerstone. He is that X factor. It's his purpose to blow up and win that week.
It's what he was put on this earth to do.
Exactly.
All right, man. I'm
Gabe
inspired.
Davis ran over.
I'm inspired. No, but do you have any more info on this game, or do you want to go to Commanders and Niners?
Well, Bills and Bears is going to be another one outside in the crazy weather. They're going to be getting real creative in the run game in this one, and I think there's going to be no Devin Singletary.
Mm-hmm.
So Naeem Hines and James Cook could maybe be doing some real crazy stuff in this game.
I think we could see Josh Allen with like a 17 carry outing.
That too, absolutely in the cards.
Which
Big
would
time
be
in the cards.
so awesome.
Yeah, he could. Maybe he makes his. What do you have, like 50 points last week or something?
Yeah,
I think
50
maybe
points.
he breaks it. Maybe he goes higher this week.
Dude, that would be a real underdog
That
story.
one's going to be a great one too. Again, creativity in the run game is the kind of theme for the week across the board.
But I mean, Fields is gonna. I mean, between those two guys, you can't set a high enough over on rushing times for these two quarterbacks in this game.
Ooh, what if they start dueling? What if they start trying to out-duel each other? And it's like, Fields starts it off with like a long 50-yarder, and then he's like over 100 by halftime, and then Josh is like trying to catch up, and then they're both in like the 150s to 180s by the end of the game.
And that would end fantasy.
And that's what the NFL needs to see.
Most definitely.
And then maybe they'll mix in like a healthy Lamar Jackson into one of those kind of matchups.
We need a healthy Lamar Jackson.
But yeah, so that's going to be a fun game to watch because of that. You want to go to the next one with the Manders and the Niners?
Let's go for it. I mean, and let me just be the first to
I think
say,
this is just going to be an utter disgrace kind of game. I think that the Commanders are going to kind of come and end up looking like a college team. I think the Niners are just going to handle business pretty, yeah.
I'll save you anything that you could say about the Commanders. You're starting Terry McLaurin. I don't care. You're starting Terry McLaurin, and you're sitting B-Rob if you can at any need. I'm trying to decide between B-Rob and Zach Moss in a league. I don't know what to do. What are you thinking there?
I think you have to take Robinson.
You think so?
I mean, what did Zach Moss get last week in terms of snap share or anything like that? Was he getting the most of the carries and stuff?
I think he had like half the snaps, but 24 carries to like Deion Jackson's 14, but Jackson got the touchdown.
24 carries, huh?
Yeah, but I mean they had like 40 as a team.
Yeah, I don't know.
JT would have just had so many points in that game, dude. I'm so mad he got hurt.
Very weird.
I
I
don't
don't
know.
know. It's what do they call it when you're just looking at last week? Recency bias and stuff.
Yeah.
Like don't let the recency bias get you just because it was the most recent game. Go with like uh, the proven asset, the guy who's done it longer.
Brian Robinson's been my guy. Yo,
He's gonna get the carries too. You know that this team is again a run first team. Who cares? They don't care if they're playing the 49ers. They're coming in to play defense and run the ball. Doesn't matter who they're going against.
Brian Robinson quietly had his most efficient day of his career on the ground last week too. I thought I'd mention that.
Nice.
But speaking of the 49ers, I can make a case from every week here on out, besides Derrick Henry this week, that CMC should be the weekly RB1. I just feel like his, his upside is insane right now. He had like 26 carries last week. He has the upside of 10 catches any given week, 3 touchdowns any given week. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's just you can see it, and anytime he's out on the field, the chance of him getting the ball is very high.
There's a direct so our way here. There's a direct correlation between him on the field and him getting the ball, and it's like this. Oh wait, you can't see it. It's a straight line. He gets the ball 100% of the time. Oh wait, it's falling off.
And we only got a few minutes. We got to finish this up.
Yeah,
Eagles. We'll move on. Eagles and Cowboys. I mean, the big storyline is no Jalen Hurts. If you lost him and you're only and like Minshew is one of the only guys on the waiver wire for whatever reason, he is a viable play. Uh, I would say he's just as viable as Davis Mills this week. He's been awful, but he has the best matchup that you can have. So they're literally about the same. He has a mediocre matchup and he's a backup, but he's a good backup and he has good weapons. There's no reason to think that AJ Brown and Devonta Smith and Dallas Goddard being back this week, they can't prop him up.
and it's fun to root for Gardner Minshew. Let's be real.
For real.
Um,
And another one that's in the dome, you know,
mm-hmm.
and playoff implications, division rivals. Um, the Cowboys could technically still win the division if they win this game.
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to be gunning for it. I mean, we'll see. Other side of the ball, real quick. Zeke and Pollard are top 24 plays, both of them, in my opinion. And Dak has kind of been mediocre. The CeeDee Lamb and Schultz are getting by, doing pretty well, especially CD. But Dak has been, okay. The running game looks great though. So
Yeah, uh, I mean, Pollard's up to RB7 this year. Total stud. You're
I
getting
think they're
both them
both
in.
going to pop. They could both score touchdowns in this game. I think it's pretty likely that they could both. And maybe that's like a fun little bet to add to like one of your crazy parlays.
Mm-hmm.
If you have like your parlay of 3 crazy bets, Zeke and Pollard, like anytime touchdown scorers at the same, like if you can combine them,
That's fun. Yeah.
I think that.
Um, do you want to go to Ravens or Raiders Steelers?
Raiders Steelers. Yeah, tell me about your Steelers. What do you expect out of them this week against this? This team is susceptible from a defensive standpoint, but they can put up numbers, and the Steelers have been susceptible in the secondary. So, what do you expect to see, and what would you like to see?
I am looking to get Deontay Johnson in my lineups. Um, I actually think that he's a buy in any format. He's uh, he's the he's the most due for touchdown regression of any player in NFL history. At this point in time, like statistically, uh, and he's a target monster. I want to get George Pickens in there as a flex if I can. High upside, love watching him play. Uh, you're playing Najee. You're not loving any of these plays, but they're all not bad. Pickens just isn't quite there yet. And then for the Raiders, Darren Waller should be started in your league of tight end. It doesn't have to be you, but He's gonna be started, and then it's obviously Devontae Adams and Josh Jacobs.
Obviously, yeah. The quarterbacks are like the most questionable players to play in these games. I mean, and Pickens, yeah, it's just a matter of time, but he's going to fall in the end zone with one of these crazy catches one time instead of it just being on the 20. He's going to land in the end zone with it. Maybe he does it twice. Um, I've seen him targeted in the end zone plenty of times, but just not he's not. It's either inaccurate or whatever. It's tough to score down there, especially with young quarterbacks. But
He is so
he's
fun.
so due. He's so due, and I think he's more talented, definitely more talented than Deontay.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, they're different types of receivers, but the ceiling for the type of player that Pickens is brings more to the table for the team than the type of player that Deontay Johnson is.
Yeah, I agree. Um,
Uh, yeah, let's keep going. Packers and Dolphins on Christmas Day.
oh man, so Packers, uh, and Christian Watson burned you, but you're still playing him. Um, probably. Uh, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, both banged up, but both viable plays if they're in there. AJ Dillon is on a tear right now. He has 10 catches in his past 3 games, 4 touchdowns in his past 3 games. Um, yeah, he's on a tear. Um,
I think this is going to be like one of those games where both teams have over 45, 50 pass attempts. Both teams are just going to be slinging it all over the place because of what you said. Running backs in Green Bay are pretty banged up. They can lean on Rodgers and Watson against this defense, and then the same with Miami. I mean, they've been leaning on the passing game all year. There's and because their run game is pretty shit. You know, Mostert shows up here and there, but it's not consistent by any means. So the passing game is where their bread and butter is, and that's what they're gonna. That's the tip of the spear, so to speak.
I could see everyone eating Randall Cobb, Robert Tonyan. Everyone needs. I
Yeah.
mean, it it could be a big total.
You
They're
build
playing the Dolphins.
when you're building your Christmas Day slate, it should be like as many Packers and Dolphins as you can get. And
Oh yeah,
you fill in the other spots because you had to.
most definitely.
So the other two games is on that day are Rams and Broncos, which nobody should care about. Like, don't play anybody in any of those games. Doesn't matter what format. Don't play anybody in any of those teams.
Play the defense.
I don't. Yeah, play the defenses. If you really want to get, if you want to, I guess. Davis Murray is going to get work, but what does that really mean? What does it really mean?
What does it mean?
He's old on a bad team. It's just not something that you want to go out of your way to play, in my opinion. I mean, if that's your thing, go for it. If it works out for you, I'm happier, all the happier for you. But it's just not the advice I would want to give.
And
So then what's the other game? Bucks and Cardinals.
yeah, Bucks Cards. It's Rashad White. It's Nuke. That's it, man. That's it.
Fournette will get work, right? But you're hoping for a touchdown, basically.
Yeah.
It's not touchdown dependent.
Yeah, it's rough though. I mean, it's backup quarterbacks. It's a 67-year Tom Brady. Yeah.
Yeah, another game that you should kind of try and avoid.